Julia is an internationally recognized and award-winning composer of modern classical music. She's the winner of the 2015 Pulitzer Prize in Music and has composed a major body of work for children, ranging from quartets to orchestras. Her compositions draw inspiration from folk, classical, and rock genres, bringing a modern sensibility to each while simultaneously tearing down the walls between them. Julia's music is distinguished by an intense physicality and a relentless power that pushes performers to extremes and demands attention from the audience. In the words of the Wall Street Journal, Wolfe has long inhabited a terrain of her own, a place where classical forms are recharged by the repetitive patterns of minimalism and the driving energy of rock. She's also co-founder of New York's music collective Bang on a Can. Julia received her BA from the Residential College of the University of Michigan, her master's degree in music composition from the Yale School of Music, and has held a doctoral fellowship at Princeton University. Since 2009, she has been professor of music composition at New York University and the Steinhardt School. Her music is published by Red Poppy Music and is exclusively distributed worldwide by G. Schirmer. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Julia Fink-Wolfe.
Good morning. Can you all hear me? I forgot how early assemblies were, but you're actually a lot more awake than I think I was at this age. So anyway, thanks for having me. And I thought I'd start, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, but I think Kaylee did just a very complimentary introduction there. But I thought I'd just start with showing you some images from the world I live in. And one of them is behind me. You might be wondering, why is this composer putting some sort of coal-faced boys on a photograph behind her? Does anyone have any idea who these young men might be? Or a question for someone? Take a stab. Pennsylvania coal miners, a little younger than you are. So you'll find out in a moment why I put that image behind me. Thank you. More Pennsylvania coal miners. They're at work. Anybody have any idea what they're looking at there, what that might be?
Is that a play?
This is a play. Of a sort, yes. It's actually a concert performance, and I just thought I'd bring that image in because not all concerts look like the Philadelphia Orchestra, which is, of course, an amazing orchestra. It's a piece that I did at one point called Lost Objects, where all of the musicians were on scaffolding, and there's a lot of kind of debris in front of lost objects to go with the piece in front. So I thought I'd just give you an image of something that doesn't look maybe like your typical concert. Does anyone know what that instrument is? A bass. Okay, yes. Some people call it a country bass, double bass, but bass is what it is. Not in a concert hall. Anyone have a guess where that bass player is playing? Oh my gosh, Massimoga. I thought you were going to say museum. It is in Massimoga. Someone, who said that? Okay, thank you. You've been to Massimoga, I assume. The bells go off today. That is at Massimoga, which is an incredible museum of contemporary art in Massachusetts, and it's a place that we invade every summer with my collective Bang on a Can and make music. So another sort of unconventional place where music happens. That's an amazing sculpture. The exhibit changes every year. It's sort of like this like sparkly cobweb, and wonderful young student playing the bass. Oh my gosh, what's that doing? Okay. Okay, so let me tell you just a little bit about the experience of coming back here. First of all, I put some notes down just to make sure I didn't get too lost as I'm talking, but I'd really rather just speak directly to you. So. This was to remind me of the things I wanted to tell you. So coming back here, I'm of course flooded with memories. I don't even know if these things are still happening, but Color War, is that still happening? Color War, still Color War? Yes, okay. Chasing each other around the playground, playing field hockey. How many field hockey players up there? Okay, shyly putting up. Studying Latin. I think we have some Latin teachers here. Studied many things, the After School Film Club, really had an amazingly great education here at Germantown Academy, and I think a very broad education, which is something that I think it becomes very valuable when you get to college and are open to pursuing lots of different things. You've had this incredible base and covered a lot of different territories, so I certainly felt that. Now, why did I put the seal up there? You know, I wore this little blue blazer with the seal on it for so many years. I even brought it to college. My college roommate looked at me and went, "What is that jacket do?" Anyway, and didn't really pay much attention to what it said on it. I thought the word persevering was preserving for many, many years. And, you know, like jam or something, which probably was also an effective word, we could preserve ourselves. But in case you don't know, on the seal it says, "By persevering we shall see the fruits." And when I was younger, as I said, I didn't think much about it, but as I got older, this motto stayed with me, and I just thought, well, what does that mean exactly? And what does it mean to persevere? And for me, it's really meant staying curious, challenging myself, not being afraid to make mistakes. Another motto that I try to live by is better to be a fool for a moment than a fool for a lifetime. So raise your hand and go, I didn't follow that. Anyway, just the idea of really taking that to heart. So as you're wearing, if you have anything with that wonderful seal on it, I think that it's a pretty good motto. So where did I start? I really, when I was in school here, my main interest was English, creative writing, but it's interesting, in becoming a musician, I feel like all of the things I studied here actually fed into getting into music. And when you think about it, music is mathematical, it's scientific. In fact, I was looking at the GA website, and I think at a lower school we're studying the acoustics of sound. So it's historical, it's emotional, it's physical, all these different things. And part of the reason I became a musician, I think, was because it brought all these things together for me. So when I was a young person going to college, I thought, well, instead of reading about people doing things, I think I want to do something. And that do something became writing music. So just to tell you a little bit more about that path, I decided to go to the University of Michigan, mostly at the advice of Dwight Peterson, who was one of my teachers at the time. I don't know if he's visiting today, but Dwight, are you here? If he's in the hall, you might stop in. Anyway, he said, I think you'd really like Ann Arbor. As it turned out, it was a wonderful environment. Actually, it was a small program called the Residential College, and they had small classes. It was a very socially conscious little program in that enormous university. And I really accidentally wandered into a music class. I think if someone in high school would have said, oh, you're going to become a composer and travel the world hearing your music, I would have said, that's really funny. I don't think so. A friend of mine just said, oh, come take this music class. And I said, I don't think I know enough about music. I studied piano, and actually when I was in high school, I started to write songs, play folk guitar, and it was kind of a side interest, but wasn't at all considering pursuing it. I walked into the class. I was certainly the most beginning person in the class. There were these little laboratories where you learn music skills. I was in the beginning laboratory, the beginner of the beginning laboratory. But something about it caught my interest, and I just had the sense that it was the way I could express myself in the world and connect with people and be creative. So I guess part of the reason I'm mentioning that is because some of you may have a very set track. I know there's some seniors here. How many people are seniors in the room? A lot of you. You're almost there. It's coming. It's an intense time period right now. And you may be very clear that you're a visual artist, or that you're going to be an engineer, or and you may follow that track, and it may be absolutely perfect for you. But some of you may be surprised at where you're led. And so I think it's really great to go in with an open mind and think, I don't know where all this education is going to take me. So that certainly was my case. I had a wonderful, wonderful teacher at the University of Michigan. And get it ready. And I remember walking into the class, and she was very clear that don't take this as some kind of like fluff extra class for credit, just because it's music. It's going to be a really serious class. It's going to be a lot of hard work, and I sort of taken aback, and the challenge that she gave us was very, very powerful. And so I'm still in touch with her. So certainly, I hope all of you can have teachers like that that inspire you. Sometimes you wonder, did I get into music because of that teacher? And really, what could it be? She was so inspiring and really sparked my interest. I think it has to speak to you directly, whichever field that you choose, but certainly teachers, as there are many incredible teachers here, make all the difference. So, okay, so I spent those years in college. I won't go over all of my college years, but mostly took a lot of music classes. I wound up majoring in music and theater, and after being at the University of Michigan, I stayed in Ann Arbor for about 3 more years. And one of my professors, who actually was a graduate student at the time, called me up and said, let's start a company, let's start a theater company together, which was very exciting because I just graduated from college and wasn't sure where I was going or what I was doing. And with 4 women, we made a company, and we all wrote scripts, we acted, built these kind of multimedia pieces. We worked a lot in schools, but also in different theaters in that region. And it was a wonderful way of working with friends, a very, very collaborative experience, which was really my testing ground for what I came to do later. I was waiting tables, teaching, doing theater. So there are stages in this. It's not like, boom, there you are. I think some professions obviously work differently, but there was a process of trying things out and teaching along the way. So that was called Wild Swan Theater. But at a certain point, I felt like I needed to gain more experience writing music. I was writing for the moon going up into the sky. I was playing all the instruments. And I thought I really wanted to figure out how to write for large groups of instruments and lots of different instruments. And at that point, I was looking into graduate school, and I wound up coming back home to visit my mom, who's here today, who lives right nearby the school. And on the way, I went to New York City and visited some college friends, actually some GA friends that were living in New York at the time. And one friend from college actually said, come meet my roommate. He just graduated from the Yale School of Music. He knows what's going on in the field of music in New York, and you have a lot of comments about that. So I went and met this person, and that was Michael Gordon, who is the person in the center of the photograph. I wound up marrying him, so it's worth listening to your friends when they say, go meet this person. So Michael just graduated from Yale, and I was looking at the school partly because I knew that it also had a strong theater program, and but I wound up really focusing on music. And so anyway, I spent a couple very intensive years there, trying to, again, studied a lot of music at the University of Michigan, but hadn't gone through that normal track of playing violin since I was 3 years old, and studying music theory all the way through high school. So I'd done a lot of catch-up, but even more so in graduate school. So it is possible still to, like I said, feel like a fool for a moment, but hopefully not a lifetime. So I'll give you the synopsis of getting further along so you can see some more photographs. So anyway, at a certain point, Michael came with me to New Haven, and I did 2 years of graduate school, and then he said, well, we've got to move back to New York City. That's sort of where the action is. There was a lot of exciting energy there. And we moved there, and with a third friend, who's David Lang, who is on this far side, we sat around and thought, well, what are we going to do now? We met in coffee shops. We complained, we don't fit in anywhere. Because we were trying to experiment and try new things out. We didn't fit into maybe all the set avenues that there were available at the time. And I think also it was a narrower time for the world of music I was in. Now things have opened way up, and very, very interesting things going on, and a very open time, actually, for music. And after complaining for quite a long time, we just looked at each other and said, well, why don't we do something instead of just complaining about it? And we decided we were going to put a concert together, and we started this one-day marathon. We actually went around and asked a lot of people, can we do a concert in your space? Can we do a concert in your space? Most people said no. So it's very good to get used to the word no until you finally get a yes. This is true in life in general, I have to say. And we pulled our friends together, we wrote to everyone, we raised a little bit of money, we got 1 grant, but wrote friends to say, can you support this? We're trying to start something new. And that one day became the Bang on the Can Marathon, which happens every year in New York City. It actually happens in other cities as well, sometimes Los Angeles or Amsterdam. I can tell you a little bit more about that organization later, but it really became a home for the three of us. And all three of us are composers, we're all writing music. And again, the first theater collaboration was my first taste of working with people and working in a way that's everyone participates. So I think in some contexts, having one leader that's the dictator may be helpful. But I've certainly found that in these collaborative working situations, you really get a lot of energy and a lot of input from being together and having ideas together. So those are Michael, David, and I putting that together. And then we're going to jump to 25 years later. I thought it'd be fun to show you a little video. Has anyone seen Arthur? Did you grow up watching Arthur? Or was that? Yeah, okay. Because I think it came into being after I know you're in high school. It's not. You'll see why I'm showing you Arthur. Oddly enough, at some point. We were doing a concert at I think it was at Alice Tully Hall at Lincoln Center, and this short, very funny man actually came up to me and said, I think we ought to put you on Arthur. And I thought, this is like some crackpot. That does happen, especially at concerts. People come up and they try to shake your hand, and most people are really nice. But this, I just thought, what is this? And it turned out he really was the writer of Arthur. He was one of the script writers, and also just a new music fan. He came to a lot of our concerts, and I hadn't noticed him before, but and I didn't take it seriously. And then a couple of years went by, and then he called me and said, "Yeah, we're doing that Arthur show. We are doing that Arthur show." And I just took a little excerpt from the whole show. The whole show's not very long either, but I thought it'd be fun to see. I think I got more emails about the Arthur show than I did about a piece of Carnegie Hall or something this before. It's public television, it reaches a lot of people. So I thought I'd play a little bit, and it was kind of delightful just to think about how we think about music, how kids might think about music, how you open people's ears and open their minds to try new things. So this is Binky. He plays the clarinet. Anybody here clarinetist? Almost, maybe. I don't play the clarinet, although I love the instrument. And he's going to, I'll let Binky speak for himself.
The Bang on a what?
Bang on a Can All-Stars. They're this really cool band. I met the composer, and they've agreed to come to our school next week.
What kind of music is it?
It's très avant-garde, Binky. It might be too sophisticated for you.
Ha! Too sophisticated for me? I know music better than any of you.
Wow. I feel like I was just on another planet. Wonder if this is what it's like to be Buster.
When do they stop tuning their instruments and play the music?
That is the music.
Well, by the end, Binky, believe it or not, becomes a composer in the show. So it's pretty funny. He does it kind of a piece as a joke, and then all his friends go, "That was really great, Binky." I'm actually in the show. I do a voiceover. I'm a wolf. They said I was going to be a little animal, so I think I should be a wolf because it's my last name. So it was fun. Sorry, I'm not in that little excerpt, but my first cartoon appearance. See if there are more. So anyway, it was a lot of fun, and fun also just to reach into a different audience. And so that can lead me into the next subject, which certainly took me to a different place.
The Bang on a what?
Perfect. That's me. Not as old. Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of background. When I first showed you the photograph of the boys, as we heard, it's breaker boys working in the Pennsylvania coal mines. What does that have to do with being a musician? At a certain point, I got a commission from the choir in Philadelphia, the Mendelssohn Club of Philadelphia. And it was interesting because I've worked all over the world, which is something I hadn't thought about when I decided to become a musician. I just thought, oh, I love music, I have to make music. And then I realized it's actually an international language, so it's taken me literally to faraway places like New Zealand and Korea, which I was South Korea last year, Europe, Paris, and Amsterdam, because there's no language barrier. And I think in certain subjects you will find this, that you cross into, it's just a way of communicating that is not dependent on speaking a particular language, or maybe speaking the language of music, but so that's been very, very exciting. But this was actually the first commission I'd gotten from my home state, and I just thought, oh, this is interesting. This is coming from Pennsylvania. Maybe I should think a little bit about that. And I thought, well, I grew up in a small town about an hour north of Philadelphia, so close to this area, but a little further north. And I looked to that region and I thought, well, instead of looking to Philadelphia, which of course is the big city, and it's where I spent most of my time. So if I went down the little country road where I lived, Hillsmire Road, if anybody lives in the Montgomeryville area, and turned right on Route 309, it would take me past Germantown Academy and then all the way into Philadelphia. And that's the way we mostly turned, was right on 309. Well, what happens if I turned left on 309? What's up that way? I had a few friends actually from school who lived that way, so occasionally we turned that way, or we'd go to a diner. But really didn't know what was up to the left. And I started to explore it, and as you take 309 all the way up a couple hours north, you reach this coal region, anthracite coal region. And I thought, that has an interesting history. I know a little bit about it, but really not very much. And I called up the choir director, and this is something that I think is a lesson too for anyone in any field. And I said, well, I know you want me to just write a piece for a concert, but I want to do this large project that covers the history of this region in northern Pennsylvania. Are you guys game for it? And so that sounds interesting. So I sort of transformed this one request into an evening-length piece, and really something that I kind of had a passion for creating. So anyway, that piece became Anthracite Fields, and I can play a little bit of video. And what I did was I went up into that region and researched, I interviewed people. So it has this very strong history component. I think anyone who's interested in art or making art, it can be very interesting to work, first of all, completely abstractly, but also to make a kind of documentary through art. And that's what this piece became, is a kind of documentary art. It's a very poetic history. It's not like it's not out of the history books. So I went up, I interviewed descendants of miners. I went to these fantastic little museums, the Anthracite Coal Museum, if you ever get up there. Amazing exhibition that depicts the entire life of miners. And just learned a tremendous amount about that life, which really at the turn of the century fueled the nation, and many, many interesting issues. It was such a huge subject, I wasn't sure where to start. But as I started to interview people and started to study the subject, luckily, themes emerged that I thought, oh, that has to be in the piece. I have to somehow get that message into the piece. And certainly a lot of interesting issues about labor history, a lot of the safety issues about labor that are in place now really came out of all of that terribly dangerous work that the miners did. This all fed into what became this piece. So I'm going to play you a little video here. The choir made a few short videos of going into that region, and it'll tell you just a little bit about it. We went down to the mine, which was fantastic. They take you down, and you go pretty deep, several hundred feet down, I think, and it's beautiful. This is black, shiny stuff. It's in the earth.
incredibly ancient field is the landmass in this area of Pennsylvania that's close to where I'm from, about an hour north of Philadelphia. And to go into the city, which is of course the exciting thing to do, you would drive down a small country road and then you get to Route 309 and you would head south. But if you took 309 and you headed north, which I almost never did, you would wind up in this region. I've been working in particular on these narrative or somewhat narrative pieces, musical pieces that take a look at the American worker in different contexts. I've got singers, so I have texts. It's an incredible advantage, I guess I'd say, in telling history.
But anyway, it gives you a little bit of a sense of what the piece is about. I certainly won't go over the entire piece because there's more that I want to tell you. But just to cover some of the basic subjects, the first movement called Foundation, and I also wrote all of the text, all of that great writing that I did at Germantown Academy early on. All those red pen marks really were helpful. So when you get your paper back and you see all that, reorder the sentence this way. It's incredibly helpful. I do a lot of writing now, not only text for my pieces, but almost in any field. Writing is such an important part of what you do. So take it seriously. It's one thing I'd say take seriously is writing, certainly. So anyway, in writing the text, the first movement, I just used a list of miners' names. It's almost like a chant of miners that were on a Pennsylvania index of accidents. I just chose the Johns and one syllable last name. So you have like John Ayers, John Ash, John Baines, John Bates. A kind of memorial. I guess there are many memorials that have lists of names, like the Vietnam War Memorial. Some of them are maybe more familiar with through visual art. But it was my way of acknowledging those people who were working underground. The second movement is the Breaker Boys that you see, and they're boys that worked in the mines. They did eventually outlaw that, so we can kind of see the difference between our lives and their lives. It was some days when you feel like, no, I really feel like going to school. They couldn't go to school, so finally laws were enacted where they were, education became available to them. But certainly a very, very different life, and that was very moving. I said a speech by John L. Lewis, who was the head of the United Mine Workers at one point, fighting for worker rights. A movement called Flowers, which was dedicated to the women who lived there. One of the women I interviewed was describing kind of an impoverished existence, but she said, oh, but we all had gardens and we all had flowers. And this was kind of the illuminating moment of the piece. Actually, there's a photograph here. See, technology, it's one part of my education. Okay, so that gives you a sense of, in Philadelphia, this is from the Philadelphia performance, there were projections, so you can see, these are when we were singing the names of the miners, you can see the faces slowly morphed from one miner into the next. And there are the flowers. So actually the whole piece was in black and white, sort of like the Wizard of Oz until you get to Oz. And then when the Flowers movement came in, it all went into color. This is on the stage of Avery Fisher, which I know is a new name, David Geffen Hall now, at Lincoln Center. Very, very exciting to be a part of that festival. And the last movement, a lot of people were asking me, well, does it relate to pollution and the problems with coal? And it really was more of a historical piece, but I feel like I can't really ignore our part in this conversation. And so I wrote the last movement, just a list of the things we do every day that use actually still at least half of our energy, somewhere around half of our energy is coal powered. So I thought, well, how am I a part of this conversation? So bake a cake, drill a hole, call your girlfriend on the phone, send a message, all the different things, wash your clothes. it just wanted to tie us in, so it wasn't just about those people over there. It really is all of us and how we use energy and the meaning of it in this country, and the meaning of labor. So that was my attempt at contemporizing the subject. Okay, see, I'm doing time wise. Okay. I'm going to play a little excerpt from the piece. This is, again, anthracite fields. But also I should say that anthracite is this particular kind of coal. It's the diamond of coal, so it's very, very efficient, and that's why it became very, very, very popular. And waves of immigration happened in that region. So people came from Wales and Germany and Italy, and really to find work there. It was a booming industry at the time. So here are Breaker Boys again, sitting in these coal chutes. So the movement, I'm going to just play you a short excerpt of, I used local rhymes. So there was a rhyme, Mickey picked slate early and late. That was the poor little Breaker Boy's fate. A poor simple woman at the breakers still waits to meet up her poor little Mickey picked slate. So Mickey never came out of the mines. That's not the happiest of rhymes. And of course, a lot of children's rhymes have a dark side to them. You go back to jump rope rhymes and things like that. And so I played with some of the rhymes that I found. At the center of this, which you won't hear, is an actual interview with a coal miner who worked as a breaker boy. Very painful existence. They couldn't wear gloves. Their hands were bleeding from picking out the debris from the rocks. Very long hours sitting there. Very unpleasant work, really. So this is just a little snippet to give you an idea about the piece. This is, again, choir, the Bang King All-Stars, which are an amplified ensemble. This is an excerpt from Breaker Boys.
Mickey Big Slate. Early and late. Mickey Big Slate. Early and late. Early and late. Early and late. That was the poor little Breaker Boy's fate. Early and late. That was the poor little Breaker Boy's fate. That was the poor little Breaker Boy's fate. That was the poor little Breaker Boy's fate.
It gives you a little snippet there. And later it gets into, like I said, that sort of the sad documentary part, interview with the man who was a breaker boy. At the very end, he gave me a very heavy beat. I felt like I needed to get in my boy adolescent energy, that I never got to live through, and I put it in a very driving room. Because, on one hand, they're boys with a terrible situation, very difficult work, and they're still boys, and they're out there playing, and I really wanted to evoke that idea of, get a sense of their age and their energy, as well as the difficulty. Okay. Just a few minutes. I'm going to try to get the last little bit in here about what I do. What is that person? It's not me. That is Mark Stewart. He's the guitarist in the Bang Can All-Stars. The Bang Can All-Stars is sort of It's the ensemble, the touring ensemble that came out of this one-day festival that I mentioned. And it's sort of half rock band, half string quartet. There's a double bass, there's a cello, there's an electric guitar, there's a drum set, there's a clarinet. And they play musically amplified, so it has kind of amplified sound. And this page is from our website. It just kind of gives you an idea of all the things we did. So, there's just these kids out of graduate school. We say, hey, we're going to do a concert in New York City. We find some gallery that lets us do it. And then 30 years later, we're really quite a busy, multifaceted music organization in New York City. I guess I didn't say that yet, New York City. That's where I live, downtown New York. Right. Jay-Z moved in across the street from me. So it's quite an experience living in New York. We don't see him, but Beyonce and Jay-Z did get married on the roof, and everyone was calling, do you see anything? Do you see anything? I said, no, I see nothing, but a lot of photographers. So it's an exciting place to live. Certainly Bang Can has been a wonderful, kind of cozy home in this very big, busy city. Mark Stewart is the guitarist, and he plays with us, but he also has another life as Paul Simon's music director, so he's touring with Paul Simon and playing with him, and then coming and playing this crazy music with us. But I just like that picture, so I took a screenshot of the homepage. If you look at, consider we have question time afterwards, you can ask me all these different things we do. But at this point, just to give you a sense of it, we have a summer school at Nesmoka. So every summer we go there, 30 or 35 or so musicians come from all over the world. They're in their 20s and 30s, so young professionals. It's kind of a little music utopia. We make music all day, and so I'm faculty there and one of the directors. We have a commissioning program, so we're commissioning new work. We have concerts year-round. We do stage productions. It's all up there. So, but anyway, it's been a wonderful home. So as an individual artist, I do my own work and work with lots of different interesting organizations, but always come back to this home base. So it's a small office with about 5 people working in it who are really terrific. So the collaborative team has now expanded from the 3 composers to a 5-person office, a 6-person ensemble, and we've just added a new music marching band that's kind of funky, but called Asphalt Orchestra. So lots of different moving parts, but a lot of fun. Maybe I should end with time. We are going to have a break and get a snack. I know it's an important part of the day. I cannot keep you too long for that. But I think I'll just close up with 2 things. One is telling you what I'm doing next. Next, I'm stepping into the orchestra world again. I'm going to write a piece for the New York Philharmonic and a women's choir. I'm back to the subject pieces because I got the bug. What can I say? I realized I was doing all these guy-heavy pieces because the minors are men workers, and I did a piece about John Henry. It's called Steel Hammer. And I thought, well, women work too, and let me focus on that. It's really kind of now time to come around and do a piece about women. So I'm looking at women garment workers at the turn of the century in New York City factories, which is going to be really exciting to learn about that. It's kind of my fun addition to music. So that's coming up. And then maybe just to tell you that I started something, but because I have this school, the younger folks go out and they do their projects, and we try to support them in what they do. So it's I think generosity and kindness in anything you do is very, very important. It, at the very least, it comes back to you. You're giving out to them, and they're bringing great energy back to you as well. So I'd say that wherever you go to, sort of bring that idealism with you in whatever field you go in. I think it's very, very important to be passionate about what you're doing. So these young guys came out of my summer program, which people call Banglewood, because it's near Tanglewood. Tanglewood didn't like that so much, but it's kind of stuck. So we don't officially call it that, but people call it Banglewood. And they started a program where musicians from Pakistan and India and the United States meet for a residency. And I think we probably have time to play a short video. Yeah, okay. This is from their residency, called Dosti. Pakistan haven't had the most friendly borders. Two countries living side by side. There's a long history to that. But these musicians come together and make music, and it's a kind of constructive way of connecting people, through a very socially conscious program of putting people together and making a kind of peace. I wanted to make sure we got the fiddle in there so you can see it. The reference I took. Anyway, I think I'll close the video off, but it gives you a sense of sort of the way you can take a subject and move it into different directions. But thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Please join us for the break. There'll be a breakout session right after break, C2 in the acting studio here in the Arts Center, and also faculty, remember, in the McVeigh Community Room, we have a meet and greet right now during break. Thank you very much. Thank you, Julie, and seniors and faculty. We'll see you.